figured out a way to make it perform better and give you a little better fuel economy. So it was a win-win. What I don't like is the way they went to an 8-inch screen. Now, in my Tundra, it was a limited model, and it had the 14-inch screen, it had the panorama view monitor, and it was being a limited model would be similar to a premium package. Unfortunately, we haven't been able to get any allocations in a TRD Off-Road with the premium package here in the Northwest yet. Getting several in the sport model, but not the TRD Off-Road, so I wasn't able to get what I wanted. So the 8-inch screen is probably the biggest thing that I've had, I won't say struggle with, but it's been longest thing for me to adapt back to after I've had the 14-inch screen. I did sit in a limited model that we got in one, and that 14-inch screen, because you sit closer to the screen, it was a little more distracting than what I think it was in the Tundra. Tundra, you sat a little bit further away from the screen, and so maybe it was easier visually to, you know, see all the big icons and the letters and whatnot. So this seems like it's a little more in place, but maybe like a 12-inch screen probably would have been the perfect size. I don't know. Heated seats work really well. Heated steering wheel works really well. I like that they have the larger tactile type buttons. Those definitely make it easier to use, and one of the reasons they've done it that way is like, okay, if you have somebody working in a truck and they have gloves on, come in from outside and it's cold, can they still push the buttons with their gloves on? And yes, you could. The other thing too is the Qi wireless system. Now in my Tundra, I think that the Qi wireless charging system was basically pointless. You could put your phone in there, it would start charging for a second, and then within just a couple seconds it would start blinking and it was no longer charging. And so this, every time I set it in there, number one, it doesn't slide around. It charges every single time you put it in, and I never have an issue with it stop charging. So that is so much better than what it was in the Tundra. The other con I will say is that there has been on occasion where, because this didn't come with built-in navigation, it relies on the Apple CarPlay. And so when I get in, if I jump in and start the truck and I put it in reverse and I go to back up as soon as I jump in, it does not have enough time to go on ahead and load up the Apple CarPlay. So what will happen is it will disconnect from the Apple CarPlay and it will just go back into the Bluetooth mode. So you still have Bluetooth, but your Apple CarPlay is not connected. And so that can be a bit of a frustration. That's happened to me probably a handful of times. But like I said, if you wait for a few seconds, then you probably should anyway. With it being a turbo, you want to make sure that, you know, you're getting full lubrication in there before you get started. But if, like I said, if you jump in too quick and just take off, there is a chance of your Apple CarPlay not connecting. I have a question, and so if anybody else has a Tacoma, maybe you can answer this for me. And this is on the new gen, but because it has electronic emergency brake, when you put it in park, have you guys ever noticed where it kind of backs off? And what I mean by that, so on my driveway I have a little bit of an incline, and when I set the parking brake, obviously you put it in park, it will set it, or you can hit the power button and it should automatically set it as well. But after a few seconds, do you feel it back off just a hair? And talking to my service department, they thought that all it's doing is just kind of, because it only sets the brakes on the back, it's just your axle twisting very slightly. So I've never had a situation where it's rolled off on me, but I do know that when I come out in the morning and I go to put it in reverse, I do have a little tension on the gear shift selector. So if you run into that situation, tell me what's happening with you, or is mine just like a unique situation? I've not had an opportunity to really use the crawl control much. I have engaged it just a couple times just to make sure that it works just like it did in the Tundra, and it is just as seamless as it was in the Tundra. You hear absolutely nothing. So when you compare that to the previous gen Tacoma, it is so much more convenient. You know, even though I had the crawl control in the previous Tacoma, I almost didn't like to use it because it just made so much racket. But anyway. And then tow haul, and then also sport mode. So the tow haul and the sport mode are very similar. The difference is tow haul is going to do a couple different things. So tow haul obviously is going to hold it a little higher RPMs before it allows it to shift. But then also when you're coming down a mountain, if you're hauling a trailer, or say you have heavy load in the bed, it will also help use the engine's compression, help slow the vehicle down, but then it will also downshift a little quicker than what it normally would, also to try to help slow that load down. Now drive mode is going to, in eco mode, obviously it's going to shift a little sooner than what it normally would. Your throttle response isn't going to be quite as quick. Normal mode is going to just be in between your eco and your sport settings, but in sport mode, you'll notice that your steering will stiffen up. Obviously it will throttle response is going to be considerably quicker, but then it's also going to hold your RPMs a little bit longer before it allows it to shift. I like how and I'm kind of backpedaling here a little bit, on the transmission. I've had other vehicles where they had an automatic transmission, but then you could shift it manually. So what you do is pull it down into drive, pull the whole gear shift selector over to the left into your select shift mode, and then you can shift it manually. Well, there's always, in other vehicles that I've driven with Toyota, there's always been such a hesitation before it allows it to shift that almost defeated the purpose of having that feature. Well, here, this shifts a whole lot quicker, either up or down, and I really like the way that this transmission, operates in comparison to what the others did. So, home link on the bottom of the mirror. That's for garage door opener or electric gate. I really like for instance, in my 2022 Tundra, I had auto leveling headlamps, and I never could tell when I added the larger tires and a leveling kit. I never could tell if the headlights were actually auto focusing down. And so here you can move the dial, and as soon as you move the dial, you can see the headlights move up or down. And it makes it really convenient trying to figure out, when you're trying to level those lights back out, like if you're hauling a heavy trailer and a back end squatting where your headlights shine off in the sky. Well, this makes it really easy to go ahead and level it back out. So I like the customability on the dash here. Let's start it up. So I like the way that you can customize the dash any way you want. You can, for instance, if I wanted, I'm going to turn the stereo down. But if I wanted to see stereo station over here, if I wanted, boost on that side, or I can go to another profile where I see fuel economy there and then boost on that side. You can set up the profiles in many different ways depending on your driving situation. And so I do like that. As I mentioned before, currently showing 17.7. Based on the calculation of the larger tires, it's currently getting 18.3, and that's my combined fuel economy. The only real highway driving I've done, and I do have a little bit of stretch of highway on the way home, but it's kind of stop and go because of traffic. But the only real highway driving I've done has been pulling my motorcycle trailer, and it's been going up in elevation. So it's hard to tell, what type of fuel economy I would get just on an open straight stretch, but that is my combined. A con, I'll turn this air down for a moment. A con would be that they eliminated the dual climate control. So the only way you can get dual climate control now is to go to a TRD Off-Road Premium, a TRD Sport Premium, a Limited, or to go up into the TRD Pro and Trail Hunter. Excuse me. Granted, the cab is fairly small, and so it's probably not as big a deal, but the ability to have, one side a little different temperature than the other, what I would see a definite bonus. But anyway, for whatever reason, they've decided to go back to the single climate control, probably just a cost savings. I still haven't had enough time to tell if these seats are going to hold up as far as being able to stay clean. I like the look of the lighter color, the darker color, or the contrast. But I'm concerned that maybe these will end up getting dirty. But the seats themselves, the seat material seems very durable. So we'll just see how they do long term as far as keeping them clean. A lot of people mention how the glove box You would think that it would be just a snug fit instead of spring loaded like that. I'm not sure why they did it that way, but that's just the way it is. I think that's pretty much it. So, you know, just kind of round things up. You know, like I said, I've got just under 1,600 miles. I love the truck. I'm not saying that as a salesperson. I'm saying that in comparison to the previous gen. You know, is it worth the $50,000 that you get, or you should say that you pay for this upgrade package? I don't know. That's a big stretch. But unfortunately, like I said, Toyota's not going to go backwards. So we're either just going to have to, you know, bite the bullet and buy a new gen. You do get a lot more technology. You get all these new safety features, and I have seen a reduction in insurance cost based on what my 2021 Tacoma was. And so the new safety features obviously are safer. They'll save you money insurance-wise. But, you know, back to the cost of the vehicle, I think that it's a lot of money for a Tacoma. And then if you're looking at a TRD Pro, you know, or even a Trail Hunter, you know, you're talking $65,000 for a TRD Pro. We just got our pricing on the new. We have one allocation for a hybrid model coming in, and it happens to be a limited model. And so base MSRP on that vehicle is $55,000. The way it's equipped, it was right at $59,000. So, you know, there again, $60,000 for a limited hybrid model. Is it worth it? I don't know. Seemed like a lot of money, but there again, what are you going to do? The one thing I will mention, so here's the only real benefit that I can see to the hybrid model. If you were going to be towing it, now granted you're not picking up any additional towing capacity, but if you were going to be towing with that vehicle, you are getting, obviously, you're getting what, 130 some odd more foot-pounds of torque. So it is going to tow better. You are picking up, you know, almost 50 horsepower. So when it comes to towing, it will tow better. And what that hybrid motor is doing is kind of filling in the gaps when towing. If I wasn't using it for towing all the time, I honestly don't think I'd spend the extra money to get the hybrid model. It just seems like it's quite an additional cost. You're picking up 1, maybe 2 miles per gallon difference in fuel economy, and is that worth it to spend that extra money for it? With the hybrid system, you lose storage space underneath the seat because that's where your hybrid motor is going to be at. The cab is already pretty small, so unless you're planning on putting all of your cargo in the bed and then securing it with a tonneau cover like I do, you're losing quite a bit of cargo space. But there again, most people who buy a truck are not buying a truck based on, you know, the cargo space. So anyway, wrap it up. I love the truck. I'm happy with the performance. I'm happy with the fuel economy based on the tires I've added, based on the fuel economy I got on my previous gen. Performance wise, so much better, rides so much better. So in a nutshell, I love the truck. So thanks for watching. If you guys have any questions, any comments, go on ahead and send them my way. Take the time to like and subscribe if you like the content. I try to put stuff out weekly. Also, if you have a vehicle, so let's say for instance you put a deposit down on an incoming Tacoma and you would like an update on it, send me the VIN number. Make sure you have the proper VIN number because they do have a temporary VIN until the vehicle is built, and then they switch over to a regular VIN. And if it's already been built and you just want to get an idea of what the status is, be sure and send me the regular VIN number. So thanks again for watching. Have a great day.